Welcome back, battlers, to a brand new Sinister Cup video. In this video, we are taking on Season 1 ACE Trainer LindenRyu. He's going to open with Poliwrath. I open with Bastiodon, so I'm going to bail out into the Gardevoir, but in comes Steelix. I'm going to point out here that Gardevoir is the only fairy that's seeing a lot of usage in the Sinister Cup, and look at that. Those Dragon Tails barely hurt Gardevoir at all. So this matchup with Steelix is actually a lot closer than a lot of players think. The main thing holding back Gardevoir is that the Charm takes so long to get to a charge move, but as you can tell, unless Steelix expends energy, it cannot bring down that Gardevoir. He eventually does using the Crunch. I'm going to bring in Empoleon, and a few waterfalls bring down the Steelix. Linden's going to think things over and decide to bring in Medicham. This is bad news bears for me because I have Bastiodon and Empoleon, two steel types that are very weak to fighting. I'm actually not even going to shield here. I'm just going to let this match go because Linden has won this. He picked a better team than me, and my team being double weak to fighters was very unbalanced, so GG's for round 1. Going right into round 2, I open with Mawile against this Steelix. I'm going to switch really quick, and he's going to as well. He's going to go into Poliwrath. I go into Medicham. I love using Psychic on Medicham because it does put a ton of pressure on those fighting types. He's actually going to let the Poliwrath fall, let the switch timer tick down, and then bring in his own Medicham. So I'm going to go for the Psychic yet again because I am at a health disadvantage. I'm going to put as much pressure on him as I can. He does predict that correctly and shield, so that puts me at a big disadvantage. And I'm going to farm up a little bit of energy. He's going to fire off another attack, and it turns out it is Power Up Punch. So his Medicham is getting stronger while mine is getting weaker. Here comes yet another Power Up Punch. His Medicham is now 3 Power Punches in. I'm able to fire off one more Psychic to put some more pressure on this Medicham, and we take that second shield. So we are up 2 shields, and I do bring in the Gardevoir. These charms are going to erase that Medicham very quickly. In comes Steelix, and with my shield advantage, I'm actually going to stay in here for a moment and see how this plays out. I'm going to shield against this Crunch, and he is actually going to fire off a double Crunch. So I'm going to double shield the Gardevoir. Because it does have so much energy banked, I feel comfortable. I'm going to bring in the Mawile, attempting to bite down this Steelix as quickly as we can. Let's see if we can pull it off before the Earthquake comes. I do fire off the Power Up Punch, a few more bites, and with just a sliver of HP, he's able to get to the Earthquake and take down Mawile. I do bring in Gardevoir. It has a Shadow Ball loaded, and it is a weakened Medicham, so we are going to Shadow Ball and win round 2. Taking a look at round 3, I decide to open with Mawile. He opens with Medicham. This is a funny matchup. Medicham will win, but the bite damage does do good work. We are back into that Gardevoir Steelix matchup yet again. I'm going to try to at least draw a shield from this Steelix because I need to get some utility out of this Gardevoir. It does fire off the Crunch, which I will shield. I go into some kind of weird zigzaggy thing for the ghost animation there. Steelix is going to fire off another move. I'm actually going to double shield my Gardevoir here. Not sure exactly what I was thinking, but let's see if it pays off. He's going to hit us with a triple Crunch, though. Gardevoir is getting weak. I do switch back in my Mawile and bank some energy, but in comes that Medicham, just like we saw in the lead. This Medicham is going to fire off a charge attack, which is Power Up Punch. I'm going to get off I'm going to get off a Power Up Punch of my own with the Mawile, and we're going to start chipping away at this part Psychic type Medicham. He's going to fire off another Power Up Punch, so those counters are starting to add up, but we bring that Medicham dangerously low. I'm going to bring in my own Medicham to use a couple of counters to bring it down. Linden thinks things over and decides to come in with Bastiodon. This is good news for me. I know at this point that his team is unbalanced, so I'm going to be able to ride this Medicham all the way to the victory. He does bring in the Steelix to absorb this Power Up Punch, but it is too little too late. My Medicham is very strong now. If it's a Stone Edge, it's not a big deal. It is Flamethrower, one more counter, and we win round 3. Going into round 4, I open with Empoleon, and I win the lead against the Steelix. He is going to swap into Poliwrath. I'm a little late on the swap, but I decide to bring in Gardevoir. Gardevoir can absorb a couple of Ice Punches, so it's not a big deal here. I do take that, no problem. We bring down the Poliwrath, which is my goal. Now that the fighter is out of the way, I think the rest of my team can run free. I'm also going to put some shield pressure on the Steelix with the Shadow Ball. We do earn that first shield. Again, those Dragon Tails are doing nothing, so I'm able to use these charms until the charge move comes, which it finally does. I have Empoleon and Medicham against a Steelix. I do decide to bring in Empoleon and we lure out the Medicham. So we do have a favorable situation if we play this right. This Medicham is going to use Psychic right off the bat. I lost track of how much energy it had because of all the switches. So I do fire off the Power Up Punch here, and we're starting to ramp up. He did not take the shield bait, which is not good for us. Linden's playing this matchup very well. I do decide to shield the Power Up Punch, which might have been an error on my part, but I know I need to keep this Medicham healthy enough to get to another Psychic to win. So we finally do draw that shield. Things are looking a little bit up for us, but I don't know if I'll be able to survive these counters. We actually make a simultaneous swap. He brings in his Steelix, trying to erase my Medicham, but it's okay. It takes out my Empoleon. I decide to bring in Medicham here and use another Power Up Punch. At this point, I am going to try to counter down that Medicham. Let's see if we can pull it off, guys. In comes this Medicham. Here comes another Power Up Punch. Will it be enough, though? We're going to fire off one more counter and lose by 1 turn. Going into round 5 against Linden, I win the lead. Gardevoir up against Poliwrath. So he is going to leave his Poliwrath in here, which is surprising to me. It tells me that he really wants this Gardevoir out of the way. I'm going to allow the Ice Punch through and then use another Charm to finish off the Poliwrath. In comes Fire Spin Alolan Marowak, which forces me to switch into Empoleon. He switches into Medicham. He's going to attempt to counter down the Empoleon, but I'm able to get off the Flash Cannon just before I die. We take down that Medicham, and this is an interesting setup because my main Marowak counter is gone, and his Alolan Marowak has 2 shields. So this is just showing you the power of the Alolan Marowak. It is an excellent Pokemon. It's at the top of the PvPoke rankings for a reason. I do draw that first shield, and in comes Medicham. Now, this match can really swing either way. I might be able to win it if I can draw out the shield bait, but he's got a ton of energy stored. He's actually going to fire off the Shadow Ball, guys. I was not ready for it. I thought it was a bait, and that was a critical game-ending mistake for me. Linden is going to take round 5. Going into the next round, I open with Medicham into Steelix. So I win this matchup again. Let's see if we can win the match, though. I do fire off, or actually, I'm not sure what he's planning here. He does leave the Steelix in. I'm going to absorb the crunch, and I'm still waiting for the swap, but I just say, hey, if you're going to leave the Steelix in, I'll show you what I got. I'm going to fire off the Power-Up Punch. He leaves it in still, so I'm going to fire off another Power-Up Punch, and that Steelix is very low. The counters are adding up as well. He's very weak, and my Medicham is now boosted, so I do want to hold on to it. I do use the shield and then counter it down. In comes Alolan Marowak, and again, he's using the strategy where he allows me to take down his first Pokemon and then forces me into the swap. So I'm going to use the Flash Cannon again on the Medicham, but this time he is going to shield it. Empoleon goes down, and I bring in Gardevoir. I'm going to shield this, expecting a heavy-hitting move, but it's just the Power-Up Punch. Excellent shield bait on Linden's part, and now here it comes. Big Psychic, boosted, takes over half of Gardevoir's health. I'm able to charm down the Medicham, and in comes Alolan Marowak yet again. It does have energy, so this Bone Club will bring us dangerously low. I try to swap out into Medicham, but it doesn't quite work. I go straight here for the Psychic, hoping he would think it was a bait, but he doesn't. I probably should have Power-Up Punched and then gone for it. This match is pretty much over. He does have the energy advantage, and the Shadow Ball finishes us off. Going into this round, I decide to open with Bastiodon. He opens with Steelix, so he does win that opening matchup. I switch into Medicham. In comes the Alolan Marowak, and I go immediately for the Power-Up Punch there. I should have built up to a Psychic and then fired it, but we learn from our mistakes. That's why we practice. I do go straight here for the Psychic, and expecting it, Linden does shield. So this is double bad for us. We are not playing this Medicham versus AWAC matchup very well. He does Shadow Ball us to take us down, and I bring in Haunter. Haunter, in my opinion, is still king of the ghosts in the Sinister Cup. It does have a lot of forces going against it, but it is such a devastating Pokemon in the right situations. He's going to use another Bone Club, and I decide to Shadow Claw him down. I am out of shields, but I've got a Haunter with a ton of energy. I'm going to fire off the Shadow Punch here against the Steelix. He does decide to shield, which is great for me. I fire off another Shadow Punch because we had so much energy saved. In comes Bastiodon, and then in comes Medicham. So I forced out his last Pokemon with the Bastiodon, but I'm going to have to deal with it with a lot of energy because it is going to pummel my Bastiodon pretty quickly. I do fire off the Flamethrower, and I do have a good counter for it in the back, but it has so much energy that typing advantage that I had is offset because here comes a Psychic, and he wins. We've got 2 more games to go. Second to last, I open with Medicham against the Alolan Marowak. I'm going to bail out of there immediately and go into Gardevoir. In comes Haunter. Now, Haunter does take neutral damage, I assume, from those charms because it doesn't do that much work to it. I do have a Mawile, though, so I am going to shield it, recognizing that it is my best chance to win this match. In comes Medicham again, and I'm going to use these bites here. I'm not going to shield the first power-up punch. I think that rule still applies, even after it was nerfed. I'm going to fire off my own power-up punch, though, and try to ramp up these bites. It's a curious thing using Mawile because you actually need to fire off that power-up punch as soon as you can because your chances of getting to something else are pretty low. I don't shield the Psychic there, which was a huge mistake, and I'm in a big hole. I don't think there's a way to climb out of it. Linden is going to bury us here with the Bone Club, and then all I have is Mawile, but this is a Fire Spin AWAC, so I'm not in a good position at all. He fires off another charge move. I am going to shield, and my last dying gasp was a few bites, but Linden takes that round. Going into our final match of the video, we open Medicham versus Medicham. This is a mirror match that you will probably see in your cup if you decide to bring Medicham. I'm going to go for the power-up punch here to try and draw the shield, and we don't get it. He predicts us correctly. I think he's going to throw the Psychic, and he does, so we actually predict him correctly as well. I'm going to go here for the Psychic now, wasting no time. And let's see if he decides to shield, and he does. So this is a pretty even matchup. He's going to fire off a charge move expecting the bait. I do not shield, but it is Psychic. So that's something that we learned in this matchup as well. If you're in the Medicham set like this and you get to that second Psychic, you just got to let it rip because that's your best shot. I do swap out of that Medicham to save it as a sacrificial swap later in case I'm able to do so. In comes Steelix, and I'm going to use these charms and try to get to the Shadow Ball. I'm actually able to fire it off, and Linden decides not to shield, so the Steelix is taking a lot of damage. Gardevoir has done an excellent job, so I'm actually going to let it take this crunch. I do have a Mawile here, so I'm going to use this weakened Steelix to farm up some energy. I'm 2/3 of the way to the power-up punch, so I am in a favorable position for most of what comes in. It is Bastiodon, and I'm going to try to chew through this Bastiodon as quickly as possible. We do fire off that power-up punch immediately, ramping up this bite damage. I'm trying to get to another bite, and we do. So we are 2 power-up punches in, and this bite is going to start to hurt this Bastiodon. Bastiodon uses the Flamethrower, which is the right move, but these bites are adding up quick. We actually bite down that big wall, Bastiodon. In comes the Medicham. It's very weak, but it is going to fire off the power-up punch. Mawile is going to take it out, though, with the bite. Trainers, if you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. I really sincerely appreciate you watching, and don't forget to keep it locked here for more Sinister Cup battles.